Okay, perfect. So welcome to Family Law Software. I am going to log into Family Law Software Cloud. So I pop in my username and password, and we are officially in. So again, if you're using desktop, it looks a little different, but everything will be in the same place. So the way our program works is you create a file, you open a file, you start files. Help and support are included, and you're going to find videos throughout the program, or you will see blue bubbles that guide you and explain what we're asking for and why we are asking for it. So look out for those. If you have any issues and you forget my name, you forget my number, which is in the chat, it's built into the program here under help/support. So we've got some FAQs, we've got some videos, we have our main email so that you can contact us through email. We are heavily email based when it comes to support and contact, but if you really need a phone call or a Zoom screen share, we are 100% available for you in that way as well. Just let us know how we can help you the best way. Okay, so this file you might have been working on it over and over again. It is the last file that you played with, so you can easily open your last file. So you will see that option here, open recent file. So that's how you would get started on a file that you have been using very frequently. Desktop is the same thing. There'll be a list of most recently used files. You may or may not know that Family Law Software allows your clients to enter their data online themselves anytime. If this sounds awful and like a headache, then don't do this. You don't have to do this. But if this sounds like a really interesting way for you to collect information from your clients, then I encourage you to give it a try. So what you would do is you would click register client. You would enter your client's email. You would enter their name, the other party, and you would click OK. Once you click OK, your client will get an email that says your professional, your attorney wants you to go online to Family Law Software, and they enter the kid's first name, middle name, date of birth, all of that stuff. They do it themselves. And that can be a huge time saver, or it can be a pain. So if your clients don't have email, they're resentful of homework, they're not wanting to participate well in discovery, they don't email you back, this is a nightmare and will not work for those clients. This is for clients that are really tech savvy, email savvy, and they don't mind entering personal, sensitive financial information on the internet. So that is a great way to collect information. If you want to see what your client is up to, if they've even started, they will be listed here. So these are your clients that are actively entering data for you or that have a file open. And so if you want to peek in on them and see if they've done anything at all, check it out. You can also make changes to the file. So you can say, hey, we talked about this. This is what your income is going to be, or this is, what we discussed, and you can make changes as well. So check that out, test it out. We don't charge extra for this. So if you want to make a fake file and go through the process, we encourage you to do so. If this sounded horrifying, you can start a file here. If you start a file here, this means that this is a file that you and only you will enter data for. Your client will never see it. They can never have access to it. It is a file for the office. So that is the distinction. These are online files that you and your client can see. These are files that only you and your office can see. Last is a sample file. So if you are using this as a trial to see if you want to incorporate Family Law Software into your office, or you just want to play around with a sample file, you can open the sample file and play around with all of our tools, child support, alimony, and you don't have to enter fake information or, just any information. You can just start playing with all of the tools. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to make a file. So like I said, I'm going to click new. I'll be entering the data. I don't want my client to see this. I'm going to do the data myself. And I will do Anna. And Joe. What you will notice is the state will be Florida by default, assuming you're in Florida, and the file name will be the party's last name by default. If you don't like that, if you have an internal system of naming files, if you already have case numbers, however you name the file, name it that way. And so it might be 2020 DR, and you type it in and you click OK. When you click OK, by default, we take you into the most common and most popular tool used in family law software, and that is the child support calculator. So we automatically take you there. I'm going to work it back because we're going to talk about financial affidavits first, and we're going to talk about the flow of the program. The way the program works is we want you to enter data under the appropriately named tab called Enter Data. Income, expenses, assets, liabilities, all of this stuff. If you are new to family law software and you just started the file, I suggest that you start creating a financial affidavit here and you work your way through each hyperlink, which we will do together today. So this is where you enter information for the client here for the affidavit. And the child support calculator, we're going to talk about that a little later, but the child support calculator, you can use it independently. So if you only want to calculate child support, that's fine. You don't have to go through all of this. Anything that affects child support will be there, and the data flows. So if I enter gross wages for the client, it's everywhere it needs to be. You type it in once, it's everywhere it needs to be. This is called analysis. We will not be talking about any of these tools. I might have time to talk about one. I have a completely separate video on the analysis tab. So this is for cloud users, or if you're a desktop user, you have access to this if you pay $49 a month. Okay, so we have different pricing levels. It has different tools, and the analysis tool is included in cloud and what we call full. These are awesome tools. And reports is where you go for printing. So when you are ready to print, I encourage everyone to go into reports because everything is there for printing. While you can print throughout the program, I highly encourage you to go into reports for printing purposes because everything is there for you. So let's pretend that we are doing a full-blown financial affidavit. We're going to do that first. So under affidavit, why don't I click the first hyperlink? And we call this background and child information. And these are folders. So you can see I already have the names of the parties. If I spelled it wrong, I can change it here. And what you do is you open the folders and you modify data. Super straightforward. So if Anna is my client, I'm probably going to be 100% focused on her. And what we mean by background is, are they male or female? Are they the petitioner or the respondent? When were they born? When were they married? So some of these questions you might say, why are we asking that? We're asking it for lots of different reasons, for pension analysis. And that's really the big one. And then also there have been some alimony bills that have floated around in Florida that obviously ask for that information. So if it doesn't necessarily seem relevant to your case, you can skip it. Or there is a reason why we are asking for that information. So again, this is all about Anna. Florida. We assume you want your forms to be Florida. There's other states that we work in. And we also assume your party lives and is taxed in the state of Florida. If your client doesn't live in Florida, so their children live in Florida, they're being dragged through a Florida divorce, that's fine and dandy, but they are being taxed in a different state. All 50 states are located here. So the big one that people ask about is usually New York. And so you would just click on New York, and then we can apply other taxes, local city, county type taxes will likely be in the program as well. So check on that. And then once you get to the final states, you're like, why do we keep going? These are Canadian provinces. So we've got Wyoming, Puerto Rico, and after that, we go to Canada. So if you've ever wondered, okay? And so I can do the exact same thing for a dad. So maybe Joe is the one that lives in another state. Then I can go to Joe and I can go to his dropdown, and that would be that. So background and child, petitioner, respondent, male, female, where do they live? That was background and child. All right, we are plugging and chugging. So then we go to income and expenses. So we have done a major facelift to family law software. Our program is fluid. We have programmers on staff, and you guys asked for it and we gave it to you. This is your new data entry. It models the financial affidavit. If you've seen a financial affidavit, you know how to enter the data, pure and simple. And so if you're a cloud user, this is what it looks like. If you're desktop, you might need to update to see this. This change is pretty recent, and it follows the financial affidavit. So we will touch on some trickier areas of the financial affidavit in just a minute. And this. Every screen in family law software has options, and the big one right now is the American Rescue Plan. The American Rescue Plan was signed, enacted in March of 2021, and it was a COVID stimulus bill, and a lot of money went out. And when I say a lot, I mean a ton of money went out. So what happened with the American Rescue Plan? We added it into the program, but you have to tell us that you want it applied in your case and how you want it applied in your case. So obviously be very careful about this because it will change your calculations dramatically. So if I click this box, that means I want to include the new provisions in my 2021 taxes, and that includes the stimulus payment. The stimulus payment can be removed. So if I uncheck this box, we can remove the stimulus payment. Why is this a big deal? The stimulus payment was $1,400 per eligible person. So that means that if it was a mom and dad, 2 kids with grandma and a college student, they could have gotten a pretty fat check. And so that's why we make a note of it and ask you if you want us to apply it. But by default, these boxes will be cleared. So check that out. We have a 1-hour webinar on the American Rescue Plan. And so if you want to learn more about this, let me know. I can send that out to everyone to learn more. That's it. So Anna's my client, so maybe I only want to enter her data. I can switch to Joe, or I can enter the husband and wife simultaneously. So if you have 2 financial affidavits in front of you, one for mom, one for dad, I would click both and I could save some time. The case number is always at the top, so you know what case you're working on. And so let's start going into these folders. So if you've seen a financial affidavit, it should look super familiar. There is a case header. What do I mean by case header? I literally mean what county. So like I said, I'm in Orange. Nope, sorry, that should have been the 9th. I'm in Orange. My case number is 2021. We keep it simple, DR. We've got our 6 numbers, division. So, and then again, Anna, petitioner, respondent, where do they live? Additional defendants. Okay, so if you're bringing in the mom and dad or a company, you would add them here. Perfect. When we get into data, section lines 1 through 3. So here, let me scroll up a bit. Last year's income, are they retired? Are they employed? All of those questions that appear at the top of the financial affidavit, that's what we call that. Pretty straightforward. And then income. Lines 1 through 17 are going to be income. And we literally have them numbered for you. This should make it a lot easier for you and your staff to create financial affidavits and update financial affidavits. If you ever have a question where something is supposed to go or why a number went where maybe you didn't expect it to, just reach out to me. I would be happy to open the file with you, Zoom, screen share, and take a look. Most of this is pretty self-explanatory, so I'll just do like the easy one, wages. So when you open up the wages, let's say Anna makes $5,500 a month. If you see text that you did not enter, it's probably a dropdown. Okay. So maybe Anna's thinking annual and she's like, oh, I'm, still have my taxes. My pay did not go up. And so I'm salaried at 60K a year. Okay. The goal is to not have to open up a calculator or not to pull out a calculator. So you should just be able to use our options and then do the drop downs. Gross, 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 gross. We ask for gross all the time because we are calculating taxes for you constantly in the background. So that's why we always ask for gross. And this is for footnoting. You will see this blue box everywhere and it is a footnote. So I'm just going to say, hi, footnote. And I can make it estimated. I can make it bold. So it might be a really important footnote. Okay. I'm going to save this footnote and we were going to see that when we print what happens to it. So now that I have a footnote, there's no longer a speech bubble with an ellipsis. It's just a filled in bubble. Every line on the affidavit can be footnoted. Look for other options to help. If you want to use hourly, you can do that. If they are 1099, click self-employed. Where do they work? What's the address? Pop it in, good to go. If they have multiple jobs, look for the plus sign. So that means add, add a wage, add a piece of property, add. You just click add and we do it all again. If you made a mistake, you clicked add way too many times, there's a delete button. There's a business helper. So we're going to talk about businesses as well. I'm going to close this and let me see if there's anything else tricky. All right, businesses can be tricky. So if you have W-2 employees, those are the easiest to deal with. Pop in their gross income, good to go. If they own a business, things get a little hairy. So when I open my business folder, it says, do you want to add a business? And I say, yes, ma'am. And this whole line pops up. Why? So let's say that she has a lawn business on the side, lawn biz. We ask for the value. So the business is an asset. And we ask for net annual cash flow. So how much does that business make in a year? If you don't know how much it makes in a year, you know what it makes in a month. You can times that by 12, or anytime you click a numerical value, you'll see that there's a calculator. And I can say, well, I know that she makes 200 a week. And I click OK. So then we will calculate her net annual cash flow. So the goal is never have to pull out a calculator. I hate my cell phone calculator anyway. I miss my giant high school TI-83 and I'm ready to buy a new one. So anyways, with that being said, if you click something that has a numerical value, there is a little calculator there. The pound sign is for a non-numerical value. So if it's to be determined, or I don't know, the husband has it, then you would enter a text value and click OK. And then you're going to see that the program asks, who's keeping the money? Because remember, our program thinks that this couple was married. And so whenever you have an asset that could be marital, you either have to allocate who's going to keep the money, the cash flow, or you can mark it as separate non-marital property. And we'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to that in a different asset so we can get moving. And then to make things even more complicated, when you have business owners, what type of business is it? So this affects their taxes. So we want to know, are they just an individual just collecting cash and calling it a business? Or have they incorporated and elected for S Corp, LLC, S Corp, C Corp, or are they in business with someone else? So all of this is for taxes. So keep that in mind. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. Just reach out, because every business is a pain. How they collect the money, how they pay themselves, how they pay their people. So if you have questions about this, or you run into a business that is just itching your brain, let me know and I'd be happy to help. Other than that, this is pretty straightforward. You just plug and chug and you're good to go. So I will not stay on there anymore. I'm going to close that. I'm trying to think of other places that might be tricky. Let's go to real estate. So the affidavit then goes into household expenses. And so you might ask what's tricky about that. And so when I open up household, we ask another question. Is it real estate or are they a tenant? If they are a renter, easy peasy, add tenant. When I click add tenant, then we ask for how much rent are they paying? What do you want to call the rental unit, or you can leave that blank. Who is renting? Again, we think that they're married, so you do have to, if they were never married, you still got to say it's always Anna. I only care about Anna. And then you enter in all of the expenses and you can footnote. So Anna's footnotes for this property are here, and I can footnote every single line. Pretty straightforward. So tenant, they are just a renter. Yes, I want to delete that. Okay, perfect. So we're still in real estate and household section of the financial affidavit. So if they are not a renter, they own real property, I would click add real estate. So those are the two distinctions. And we have put a note here to try to explain that. So, if you're having issues, look for notes. And let's add a piece of real estate and see what happens there. It has two sections. This is new, and we saw this with the tenant. So what we do when your client owns real estate, we ask for the address or description. We ask for the value, because when you own real estate, there's obviously a value. If there's a mortgage balance, you pop that in. Monthly payment, meaning the mortgage payment. So that would probably be $2,100, we'll say. And the interest. Yes, it matters. Okay, so what am I doing on my financial affidavit? This is going to go to the asset section. This is going to go to the liability section. This is going to go in my expenses. So that's going to go as on the mortgage line. The annual interest rate is important for tax purposes, so that's why we ask for it. And then who pays. So again, if you represent Anna, we're asking who is paying the mortgage. They might be splitting it. We don't know. That's why we ask. And then the expenses. Again, we ask who is paying for it and you pop them in. Super handy, super easy. And that's that. If they own more real estate, I can just add another piece of real estate and you keep on plugging and chugging. Let's talk about real estate a little bit more, okay? In the program, you are going to see this green box a lot of places. This green box means more information. So you might be saying, wait a minute, other things affect real property. You are correct. For those of you that are scratching your head, there could be a second mortgage. It could be a rental property. It could be separate non-marital. It could be mixed marital and non-marital. And so if you need to address those higher level functions with an asset, a debt, or an expense, click this and you're going to see a lot more questions and stuff. Okay. So if it is a rental property, we have a section for that. If it's marital or mixed there, if they're going to sell it, all of these types of questions. So if it is a rental property, I say, yes, it is. It asks me, I say, yes. And then I work through my rental. So how much are they collecting? Who's going to keep the rent? All of those questions. So I don't want to get too in the weeds. Again, if you have questions or issues, just reach out to me. I've seen cases and the guy had like 3 rental properties and I was like, okay, great. Let's dive into this and see, what the net result is. The back button works. So if you want to click back, you can click back, or you can go where you need to go. In this case, I will click the back button just to prove it works. And that brought us back to the income and expense worksheet. And I'm going to close that folder. So again, follow through, enter stuff, keep going. The only other hiccup is auto. So we have an auto section. And so why I say it's a hiccup is we ask for payments in the auto section, and we all know that's not the end of the story. The automobile probably has debt associated with it that needs to go in the liability section, and it also has an asset portion, maybe. Okay. So we'll talk about assets and liabilities in just a moment. Other than that, I think this is pretty straightforward. It's a plug and chug kind of deal. Find your line, etc. If you are new to family law, Maybe your attorneys, you're a paralegal and your lawyer said, go and see this. This is following the financial affidavit. So definitely print one out, check it out, get your hands on it, and then this will make even more sense. All right. So I'm going to speed up. No, we're fine. We're good on time. So I'm going to we did background and child. We did income and expenses. Now we're going to do assets and liabilities. So the assets and liabilities section is obviously toward the end of your financial affidavit. And so we have help built into the program. We have hyperlinks to help you out, and there's options. So you might say, I want to add information and I want to see it on the screen. So check this out as well. Something might annoy you in the program and you want to get rid of it. You might want to add something. So I always say, come and check this out. Everything is being saved instantaneously. So the moment I type in 123 Maple, it is saved. So lightning strikes my laptop, everything is saved in the cloud. In the cloud, we protect your data. If you're using desktop, then you obviously have to, we're saving automatically in the desktop as well, but you are in charge of protecting your files. So we are saving as we go. Great question. Excuse me, let me take a sip. Okay. This follows the financial affidavit again. So if you have a financial affidavit printed in front of you, there's cash, stocks, and bonds. Perfect. Let's add cash, meaning an investment account, meaning a checking account. You just click add and you pop it in. Real estate, we already dealt with it. So you can see there's a number 1 there. So if I open this, I will see my Maple Street house. Or I could enter it here for the first time, or I can make adjustments here, but it flowed, if you remember. The business flowed here again, the lawn company. I didn't enter it here. It came from the previous area in the program. And so you just fill in your gaps, okay? So if they have a retirement account, pop it in, life insurance, liabilities, etc. And so here, when it says automobiles, this is the asset or the value of the car. This is furniture. So for instance, I saw a financial affidavit that had 10 porcelain Yadros listed. So if you have that client, you list it here. These are assets. And then if it's a liability or the outstanding debt on the vehicle, for instance, or a credit card, you would enter it here. So I'm going to add a piece of debt so that we can see what it looks like. The description is the Visa credit card. I'm not sure how many account numbers you put in there. Maybe you only put the last 4, last 2. It's up to you. The balance. Let's say they have hefty debt. This is going as a liability. Okay. Then we ask, what is the type of debt? This is a drop down. So we'll say credit card. Then we ask for the monthly payment. And we ask who is paying it. Okay. So be careful with the monthly payment. You don't want to double dip. So if all of their expenses are being paid by this credit card, I don't want to accidentally double dip. So pay attention to that. Or this might be a dead credit card that they're just making payments on just to get ahead or pay off debt. And then again, we think the parties were married. So if you see this, we're asking who is paying for all this stuff. And so if they were never married, obviously I only care about my client and I put in 100. So title means who owns it. Affidavit is who's it appearing on. So pay attention to that. And that's it. If it's more complicated than it seems, go here. If you need a footnote, go here. That's it. If you don't want it, delete it. That ends the financial affidavit. The final section is the lawyer's information or how you plan on delivering the financial affidavit. Pension plan, we do have a pension plan calculator. So you're done, you're happy, you're satisfied. You want to print or see what your financial affidavit looks like. You click reports, you click financial affidavit. When you come here, you're like, what gives? I don't see a financial affidavit. It's because we are still building it for you. These are options. Do I want footnotes? Where do I want the footnotes? The notary section is gone, but if you miss it, so you can bring it back. So these are all printing options. I want to modify the title. I want to switch to short form. That is all up to you. You can print for the wife, you can print for the husband. If you are a mediator, you might want to print both of theirs or see both of theirs. If you have a pro se party and you just want to be nice and make sure that their numbers match your child support guideline, you can print their financial affidavit. Okay. I click here. This means I want to print a full financial affidavit. They might not have rental property, so I don't want to print that. You might hate our certificate of service, so I don't want to print that. It's up to you. Once you decide what all of your options are, you just click PDF. I just clicked PDF, and I assume you still see my screen, which has the PDF in front. Anything I entered is here. If I misspelled something, if I got the case number wrong, close it, go back into the program and fix it. Scroll through and see what you're missing, what you did. Do you like it? Is it ready to go? My footnote is here. Remember I said high footnote, I made it bold, I made it estimated. So every line can be footnoted. If I scroll down, all of the taxes were calculated. They're not going to match a W-2 pay stub, so don't go there. That's not what we're doing. We are calculating their annualized taxes. This will not match their W-2 statement. Your client will probably be annoyed, but it is what it is. Their W-2 statement is not what we are trying to recreate. We are trying to calculate their taxes for the entire year. And then you work your way through and you're done. I don't have much because I didn't enter much. So I'm going to close this. So any questions, pop them in the chat. We are going to move on to child support. That is where we are going next. If you don't remember, child support is here. It's the most common used tool in our program, so we try to put it as in your face as possible. So let's go there. Again, help, video, bubbles. Check them out. If you're a self-help person, check these out. I also have a YouTube channel, or reach out to me. I would rather have you reach out to me rather than spend an hour scratching your head, hell-bent on doing it yourself. So just let me know. I'm pretty quick to respond. The American Rescue Plan is here. Again, because it will dramatically affect child support. The taxability of alimony, we still have that here, even though that changed in 2017. You'd be surprised on the amount of phone calls we get about that. This is all you need to calculate child support. You need kids. You need money. I call this funny money. And you have statutory deductions. That's all you need. Easy peasy. This is fluff. So if you have older clients, wealthier clients, they might have these fun types of income. They're rare for affecting child support unless you deal with high income people, or you have older people that maybe adopted children, like they're drawing from a pension and they still have minor children. It happens. And so let's start talking about this. Let's open up the kids. And the other thing you'll notice up here in blue, when you are using your child support calculator, this will be in the blue bar. Child support is $0 paid by Joe. Why is it 0? Because I haven't put anything in of value. Okay. So I opened up my kid folder and it says, how many kids are we dealing with? Let's just do 1. Let's keep it simple. This whole thing is about that beautiful child. We'll call him Timmy. Timmy's date of birth. It is extremely important. It used to just be really important. Now it's extremely important because of the new tax changes. Okay. There's different stimulus dollars attributed for the different ages of the children and the daycare credits, etc. And then, and step downs too. So I'll add a child in just a minute. These are overnights. So I bring you here after I put in that basic information for the child. Whoever has the kids the most gets all of the fun tax stuff. If I make Joe the majority time sharing parent, he gets all the fun tax stuff. We do that because that's the way the IRS works. Whoever has the kids the most gets all the fun tax stuff. You might say, what about 50-50 timesharing? It's up to you how you handle this. Some programs make you allocate the extra day. So we've got 365 days in a year. And so I have to give that extra day to someone. Okay. And she gets all the fun tax stuff because of that extra day. That's the way the IRS works. But we know in Florida, we love our 50-50 timesharing. So I can type in 182.5. Mind you, I'm only typing in the days in one box, and then we calculate the second box. And so if you do 50-50, you're going to be like, oh, what do I do here? Okay. Child lives with most. This is an IRS term or designation, if you will, and you have to pick because, again, the IRS does not fall into this 50-50 thing. So you still have to pick who is going to get certain tax credits that are only allocated to the majority time sharing parent. You got to pick one. This will really mess with you if you have low income people. So the earned income credit is associated with who the child lives with most. And there's other tax credits associated with this column. So just be careful. We ask for a reason. It drives some of our users crazy because they're like, it's 50-50. And I'm like, it doesn't exist. It is a farce in Florida law. The IRS doesn't play that game. Tax dependent. Who is going to claim the children on their taxes? We know that this is negotiable. So we have a big drop down. Could be mom, could be dad, could be alternating, could be no one. Okay. And so this controls the child tax credit. That is the only child tax credit that is negotiable. It is also known as claiming the child, claiming the dependent, claiming the exemption. But formally, the IRS calls this the child tax credit. Want to learn more? Ask me questions. I should do a tax webinar because I could spend 30, 40, I could spend an hour literally just on this. The blue bubbles help guide you as to what that means. So here, when I click the blue bubble, we got a huge explanation. Remember the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act kind of started a lot of the debate on this, or not really the debate, but a lot of changes on this. And now with the American Rescue Plan, there's also some fun stuff built in there. When you click the blue bubble, it's not necessarily always going to have a giant explanation. It might be smaller. Let me see if I can find a smaller one. Hold on. Like this one, smaller, okay? And so look out for those, especially if you're wondering like what we mean by that. So you can learn a lot from clicking those blue bubbles or from contacting me because I've got tons of resources, okay? I'm going to add a child so that when we go to our step down report, I have something to show you instead of a blank screen. You don't have to put their names. And then here, let me just do the 183. Oh, and remember, whoever has the kids the most also gets head of household. And we'll talk about that in a second. Ignore it. Unless you have split custody. Split custody means mom keeps the boy because they are going to travel for baseball, and dad is going to keep the daughter the majority of time because they are traveling for volleyball. Okay. So if you have this weird case where mom's going to keep one kid, dad's going to keep the other kid, there are different ways of calculating child support, thinking about child support. All of this is good case law. Click the blue bubble to find out more. If you've never heard of this, just rewind and erase that from your brain. If not, check it out if your jurisdiction is allowing that. Again, kids plus money equal child support. As you can see, as I enter data, child support is a live number. You or your clients might not like that number, but it is what it is. So check what you might have done wrong if that number looks super wrong. And then we'll keep on going. So remember, in this case, I haven't entered anything for Joe yet, monetary wise. And so let's find out how that affects child support. So let's go into money. Money. Oops, I had to scroll back up. So wages and filing status. If you remember, Anna makes $5,000 a month. We already took care of that because we did a beautiful financial affidavit for her. But Joe's a jerk and he comes into mediation and he never gave you a financial affidavit. And now you got to deal with Joe. And Joe says, I make X dollars a month. Hopefully he brought a pay stub. So you throw in his gross wages from a pay stub, again, monthly, annual, etc. Joe comes into mediation and he's super combative and says, I don't have a job. Like, okay. And you're like, great. So minimum wage. We have this tool here that we call hourly, and our hourly tool starts with minimum wage. If I check this box, we are adding minimum wage to Joe at full-time employment. Here. If Joe says I normally work, 20 bucks an hour, I can change it to 20. This tool starts with minimum wage, but can be adjusted, and the same thing. So let's say that Joe is incapable of full-time employment, then I would bring him down to part-time at minimum wage. This is jumping up with September. I think this is going to 10 in Florida, and it's going to increase every September thereafter. So look out for that. Let's say Joe brings in a 1099 and he makes $60,000 a year and he is self-employed. That's the self-employment box here. Super important for tax purposes. We touched on the earned income credit. The earned income credit is those for low income individuals. If your client makes under $40,000 a year and have multiple children, or make significantly less than that, then your ears should perk up for the earned income credit. It can have major swings in their income. You can remove that specific credit if you would like. It's up to you. That's that. I can add an employer. So if they have other jobs and I want to keep them separate, go for it. Tax filing status is based off of overnights. So we assume Anna is head of household because she has the kids the most. Joe might be head of household because of a different reason. He might have a dependent child that lives with him unrelated to this action. He might be filing a joint with new spouse. So check that out. These are all the different tax statuses or tax filing statuses that you can select. Net income. If you have net income from a child support guideline or a financial affidavit, and you just want to pop in net income, the judge ordered we use this net income. Whatever the reason you want to use net income, know that we mean net income based off of the Florida statute, not net income in the way a CPA would think of it. And you can pop that number in here. And that's that. So I'm going to go into another type of income, which I like to call funny money. So this is tips, bonuses, overtime, commission. Put it on the right line because it might be taxed differently or not at all. So it might be annoying, but it's because of taxes. We live in a net income state for dissolution purposes. And so that's why we have to be pretty meticulous about all this. Joe and Anna. So let's say that they're in the military or you want to enter some type of income separately. You want to impute income, a car payment. His grandma's paying for his car. I can add that, make it taxable, non-taxable. So that helps you keep track of something that you might want to delete later, something that's in contention. These are for you. SSDI, that means the child receives Social Security derivative benefits because of mom or dad's disability. That's about it. Deductions. How are we on time? We're doing okay. Oops, making me scroll up. Deductions. So these are allowable deductions under the child support statute. If you haven't read the statute in a while, go check it out. I feel like I learn something new every time. So give it a read. And so health insurance is the big one. We have health insurance and dental separate. I slow down here because we ask for parent plus child, and that can trip people up. We ask for parent plus child because Anna, when she brings in your pay stub, it's clear how much she pays for child support. For health insurance. So I type in the total that she pays. It never breaks down how much the family plan is. So you find that out later in theory. And so that's why we ask for it separately. So when you find out what the kids' health insurance is, only the children's health insurance goes here. So they are usually the bulk of the plan. And then we calculate what the parents' health insurance is. That's the basic stuff. We do the same thing for dental. Health insurance can be way more complicated than this. We have other worksheets to look at health insurance, out-of-pocket expenses, prorating if they don't know how much they pay for the kids versus themselves. So if these basic tools are not doing it for you, look for hyperlinks, look for more information, look for more options. Contact me. Daycare, super easy. How much are they paying on daycare? Alimony on this relationship, it's going to be a deduction in income. Mortgage interest and taxes, we talked about why it's important because it affects your taxes. You can check out the worksheet. And you hate our taxes. That's okay. You can change them. I do not suggest you change them, but you can. So if you don't like our taxes, you can change it to match opposing counsel because you feel like it. It's completely up to you. So if I click the tax worksheet, I can change the taxes. So I literally have Anna's taxes, and this matches the financial affidavit layout. So I can change her taxes, or I can change Joe's taxes. It's completely up to you. Please do not use this to mimic or mirror a W-2 statement. We kind of already went over that. Don't do that. That's not the purpose. I'm going to use the back button. And so that was number 12. If you want to see the tax worksheet. Child support statute ends here. So this is going to be the mandatory retirement, union dues, child support, and alimony on other relationships. And you're good to go. So child support is going to be $430 paid by Joe. Joe's old, Joe's rich, go to the next folder. If you want to play around with settings for, it's mostly for the analysis tab. If not, just ignore it. So let's print. Okay. Reports. Child support. Easy peasy. This is everything that you can print. This is your official Supreme Court worksheet. You don't like it, check for settings up here. If not, you're good to go. Don't make changes here. All of this blue stuff, we take data here and we do calculations for you. Okay. Don't make changes here. Go back to your child support calculator and make the changes there. And then you can print. So click PDF and you're good to go. You'll notice notes. So if you want to put a note that says parties agree to whatever, or at the top, you might want to put a note that says, you know, this is the 50-50 schedule, or whatever your note is, you can put a note. So look for notes and then PDF that. You don't like the Supreme Court form. That's okay. So there is a program, excuse me, this one, that prints a 1-page financial affidavit and it is sideways. It hurts my eyes. You might like it, or your judge or mediator might be printing out a 1-page sideways child support guideline or opposing counsel. We offer this in the program because it's easier to compare numbers when they're in the same place. So if you prefer this print style, you click PDF at the top, and then you will match the other person that you are trying to match numbers with. You can change this text here if you want to get rid of it or change it. Step downs. This is a step down report. What do I mean by step down? I mean that we had more than one child, and child support is $430 for 2 children together. Eventually that child will age out and leave one single child in the nest, and child support will drop at that point for that one child. You must attach this to your child support guideline or parenting plan. You click PDF and you are good to go. There's options here. This is based off of their 18th birthday. This kid is not going to graduate high school in April. So maybe I want to change this to the month of June. Okay. The year is still the 18th birthday, but we're going to go for the child through high school. And you're like, oh, Anna, you said not to change blue numbers. This is one of the few areas that you are fine with. Okay. So if I want to change a date, I'll change a date. All of these numbers flow through to your IDO and your IWO. I go to reports and I click additional forms. That's where they will be located. Deviations. Your client wants to pay more or less in child support for a reason. We've got a bunch of deviation calculators. Fixed dollar amount. That means you want to increase or decrease child support by a number, a solid number. This could be a positive or negative number. So I put in 10, and when I go down here, we can see that child support was $430. We're going to add $10 of child support. That's going to make child support $440 total. And it's nifty, and it tells me how much of a percentage deviation that is. So we're only deviating from child support by 2.33%. Isn't that fun? I think this is nifty. That's a dollar for dollar deviation. So there's other deviations. So we can reimburse the payee, or we can allocate. So we can say, I'm paying this much for travel, you're paying this much for travel, and it will allocate based on financial responsibility. Check out these tools. They're pretty nifty. Click the blue bubble to find out what the heck we mean, so that you can apply it properly to your case. This is pretty handy for travel, especially in the 19th Circuit. I understand that this is kind of like what they've been up to when it comes to travel, is what I have been told. So check that out, especially if you're in the 19th Circuit. Click PDF at the top. So yeah, I want to deviate, and I click PDF, or this will attach to your child support guideline if you have used it. And that's it. That is it. That is the meat and potatoes of the program. The only other thing I'll show you for time purposes is view edit taxes. If you've ever wondered, how on earth are we calculating taxes? We show you our tax breakdown. So if opposing counsel cannot show you how they're calculating their taxes, I would probably not use their child support guideline or their tax numbers, because you can print. So I can make a PDF, and it will literally show how much money came in, how much money they paid in taxes. And so remember, they look like they're making the same, but they're really not, because of their tax consequences and the children. And so if I scroll down, what's really interesting about this tax report is kids. All of this is about kids. So in the before time, I have not applied the American Rescue Plan. So you can see here what the kids are worth. There's 2 kids in mom's column. We can see what the child credit is. There's terms like refundable and non-refundable. These are all tax terms. And we find out what the value of the kids are. So the total amount of credits that the mom is entitled to is here for the kids. If you have questions, what does all this mean? Click the bubbles, click this information, and we'll tell you more. Why is the American Rescue Plan so crazy? So the total refundable credits for these children is $2,800. Why don't I switch this and let me apply the American Rescue Plan? I wonder if mom makes too much money, but I'm going to apply it. Okay. So I went to my child support calculator. I said, I want to apply the American Rescue Plan. We're going to go to the exact same report section. I don't want to make you dizzy here. Remember how the total refundable credits was $2,800? Now they're almost $11,000. That is the impact of the American Rescue Plan. It's huge. So if you're an attorney and you have not read about it, looked into it, poked around, your clients very soon, specifically at the end of summer, so late July, August, in mediation, they're going to start throwing around these numbers. They're going to say, you got the stimulus check. So mom should have gotten a stimulus check for $4,200 based off the information in the program. The dad should have gotten only $1,400. And so these are the types of things that your clients are going to be fighting over this summer, especially if you're a mediator. You're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? This is the money. This is all that money that's flying around. I click PDF and you're good to go.